Hello and welcome to the DisruptAbility Podcast presented by Inclusive Cork. Today we are talking to business owner and entrepreneur Evaleen Whelton from Autism Ireland and KonfidentKidz, who's going to share with us her really interesting story around autism. Thanks for listening. Hi, Evaleen Whelton. Welcome to my couch.
Thanks for having me, Claire. Very comfy couch.
No, I'm absolutely delighted. I've been following you for a while, before I ever met you, okay? I'm going to admit that I was reading articles about you, looking at what you were doing, and then I went to the Autism conference and you spoke and you were amazing. And I thought, I want to be in her gang. This woman has something to say. So I am so glad that we're here today. And we're going to bust some myths around autism.
Yeah.
We're going to talk straight. And you're going to hopefully tell us your story.
Hopefully, yeah. If we have enough time.
We have time. Well, let's get some of it anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, one part of it. So, you were not identified with autism until you were...
37.
37 years old.
5 years ago now, yeah.
How did that happen? How did it take so long? What's going on?
Yeah, but I suppose back when I was in school, people hadn't heard of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Asperger's wasn't even a thing until 92, 93. So, when I did my leaving in 94. So I suppose teachers wouldn't have been aware of it. Nobody would have been. And then, I suppose you grow up in a family, you're just kind of who you are. You're accepted for your quirks and your ways. But I suppose what I'm reading a lot about now, or last summer in particular, was about how well autistic people are able to mask. So it's kind of what we do to fit in. And it's not like, because the way it's described sometimes, it's kind of like we're sneaking around, trying to fool people, that we're like everybody else. That's not it. It's like you have no choice, because basically you're kind of seen as weird and your weirdness isn't accepted. So the only way that you can fit in, you're basically forced to mask, which is to pretend to be, like everybody else, which, as you can imagine, can take a huge amount of energy and mental, it consumes a lot of you, really, it's not a good way to exist. So I think for me, being diagnosed was I suppose a path to like letting go of all of that and just actually finding out who I am myself, meeting other people who are also autistic and kind of going, oh, okay, this is my tribe, this is where I fit in, and I think going, you know what, I'm just going to be myself now. I'm not going to pretend to be anything else.
So what prompted you to go to be identified?
I suppose my little girl was one. So I suppose a lot of people who are diagnosed or kind of realise they're autistic in adulthood, usually it's their child's diagnosed first and then they kind of start wondering about themselves. So that's not my case. My case was kind of more, I think it just, looking back now, it was that I was, when I was pregnant, and I suppose for the first year I found it really difficult. It probably would have looked like postnatal depression. I wasn't diagnosed with that or anything, but it probably would have looked like that to somebody, I suppose, who knew me well. But it was more like I had to be in control of everything. It was just, I think, struggling with the mask, how do I be this mom? Because I had to be the perfect mom, and, how do I become this character, basically? And like that obviously was very, very stressful, and I was putting immense pressure on myself at the time. And I suppose I always had sensory differences as well. Foods.
So what are let's name them. What are sensory differences? Okay. What does that mean?
And I say differences as well because it's kind of seen as a disorder or something that's wrong, but I think that's only if you're looking at like how it can, maybe impact somebody negatively. But I think we need to start looking at like what a sensory experience is for like for an autistic person, and the overall picture of that, like plus and minuses and stuff. But foods, like I'm still I hate even the expression of a picky eater. Or a fussy eater, because that's just not even the right way to describe somebody who can't eat certain foods because of the textures or the smells or overwhelming or the tastes. I will taste something someone else mightn't even notice as an ingredient. All right.
So what textures don't you like? Is it vegetables or meat or
like I won't eat any vegetables? I know, still. And God knows lots of people have tried to make me do it over the years, but no. So I still have quite a limited diet. Like a lot of kids on the spectrum would have, eat a beige diet, which would be like, typical stuff. So I'm kind of like that now. Fruit is very limited as well, but you know what, I'm still here, I'm still healthy. So and I think there's a lot of pressure on people sometimes to eat the things that everyone else eats, but again, if you're healthy and you don't need to.
But I think that it's even me as a mum, or when people come to my house and I'm like, eat. I want them to eat. What is it,
we're all obsessed
but
with
I'm wrong to do that, for someone with autism, if they don't want to eat it, they don't want to eat it.
I think it's just more stress we put on ourselves as well as moms, isn't it always, you've got to eat this, this and this because someone said so, but sure, look, we're not lacking in any vitamins or anything, so I'm fine. So that light, I'd be quite sensitive to light. Like in school now, headaches. I got headaches from fluorescent lights, and if depending on where the lighting was in the room, like if it was in front of the blackboard, the sheen off the blackboard, things like that. Obviously, that's really distracting. To try to concentrate.
Does it limit your life? The food situation, like going on holidays, going to people's houses, going out for dinner, does it limit?
Right, going on holidays is so much easier. Like I'm just back from France. Right. So in France, a ham and cheese sandwich is just ham and cheese. You order ham and cheese sandwich here, there'll be mustard or mayonnaise or some little thing thrown in, some relish, something on the side. Don't like. Whereas, so it's just, it depends on where I am. So actually going on holidays, it's very easier to eat out. Yeah. And people's houses, can be a problem. Because people who know me, I'm fine because they'll always just give, they kind of know what I eat at this stage, so it's fine, they'll cater for me. Other people, I suppose if I don't know them and they ask me to someone's house, then I get really kind of like, trying to make excuses not to go, or I don't want to because
because of food.
Well, because people make a big deal out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like if I'm sitting around a table at a wedding, that's an example I use a lot because that's kind of, sitting around people you don't know and they're like, you don't eat, because I probably won't, or have the starter. I won't have
All right, so everyone, the message is leave her alone, just let people eat what they want to eat and mind your own business when it comes to what they're eating.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Just worry about your own kids, but don't have to worry about other adults and what they eat. Leave them alone. Okay, perfect. Tell us about Ausome Ireland.
Okay, so Ausome Ireland.
It's a great name, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's awesome.
Well, I suppose I wanted something that incorporated the AU from autism and that, and it's, I suppose captured what I'm about and what I want to, get out there about autistic people, that we are actually awesome, because that's not what you read about us, is it usually? No,
it's usually negative
stuff.
Evaleen,
We're a burden on society and all that kind of stuff. So, so it's really about, I suppose, changing the narrative, changing people's perspective on all of that. So it started as a Facebook page, I think, probably 2 years ago at this stage. I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with it. It was just like...
Only 2 years ago. Wow. Yeah. And you've had a conference and you're planning your next conference already.
Yeah. I know. I move fast.
You do?
Yes, I do. There's a lot of work to be done. It started as a Facebook page. I think I was kind of going, maybe just to educate people a little bit more about autism, give an autistic perspective. And I think that's missing was missing at the time in Ireland as well. I suppose there's more people, kind of more voices coming out now, but we don't get a platform, I suppose, and that's that's the problem. So it is about, so then it kind of, I suppose grew into the conference last year, which was Ireland's first ever all autistic conference, which meant that we had 9 speakers who were all autistic and and everybody involved in organising it, well, me mainly.
Right. But that's what I liked about it, and that's why I went to your conference, was because all the speakers were autistic.
Yeah.
And that attracted me there.
Yeah.
Because so many times when it comes to autism or disability or neurodiversity, it's other experts.
Yes.
And they're very good. We absolutely, we really respect all the experts. But for me, the experts are the people with the disability.
Absolutely.
All right. And because you had 9 speakers who all live and experience the day-to-day grueling of living with autism in a world that isn't always welcoming to autism, it was great. It was great, and they all had very different perspectives and very different personalities, and it just busted all the myths around it, didn't it? It really did.
It did. Because a lot of the stuff that's out there are myths, and even the stuff that's out there now by even the definition of autism. I mean, the most recent research there a few weeks ago now is that autistic people, we don't have difficulties with social skills. We actually have our own type of social communication. So like autistic people are neurodivergent people in general, so people who are dyslexic or dyspraxic or that as well, we can have a different way of communicating to non-autistic people.
Okay, give us an example.
So well, like eye contact is expected in non-autistic people. Okay. So autistic people have difficulty with eye contact. It's really uncomfortable. Like I asked people on the page actually there a few months ago, I was like, what does eye contact feel like for you? And the responses were amazing. And there was like hundreds of people just writing about like what it felt like, how uncomfortable, how painful it was. But you will still hear people, you know, expect eye contact. Don't trust someone who can't look you in the eye. You know, all these old kind of fashion sayings. You know, same as a weak handshake, but like what about people who've got poor motor skills? Or, you know, so why we can't judge people by those things. So just it's like we had a meet up the night before the conference, so it was all autistic, and people were coming to the conference, were welcome to come to it. So I think we had over 50, which was pretty cool. And you know, maybe some people were a bit anxious about coming in, but we set up a group beforehand so people could arrange to meet people if they wanted a walk-in buddy kind of thing.
Okay.
So people were just sitting around chatting. There was no social anxiety in the room. There was no difficulty in communicating. So what happens, same as there is when you see a group of non-autistic people, neurotypical people sitting around chatting, they're all fine. What happens is when neurotypical people or non-autistic people and autistic people try to communicate, we have two different ways of communicating. Okay. And obviously because we're in the minority, up until now it was like, oh, they don't know how to communicate.
All right. Yeah, and as you say, those ideas of not looking in the eye is bad manners, whereas maybe that's just very uncomfortable for someone with autism. It's very
uncomfortable. Yeah, okay. And I mean, I would just say to people that if you're talking to me and you're telling me a story, or maybe you're giving me a bit of detail, or you're asking me a question, and I'm not looking at you, then I'm picturing what you're saying. It's kind of like I'm translating what you're saying into my own language. Yeah. So I can then picture what you're saying, and then I can, I suppose, see what you're saying. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. But if you want me to look in your eyes, I can't do that. So then it's like I can't listen to you.
All right.
So
I have a question for you. Does social anxiety go hand in hand with autism?
It seems to, and unfortunately, it's not autism doesn't cause social anxiety.
Right.
It's the way I suppose autistics are generally, you know, not accepted by other people or seen as weird, or you know, I think that's and because of bad experiences, that's what causes, you know,
the social anxiety.
Yeah.
So if we had, like, say, utopia, right? If we have a better, like with Inclusive Cork now, right? When Cork City becomes so super aware of autism, are we going to reduce social anxiety for autistic people by the rest of society becoming more aware and knowing how to deal with it?
That's the aim. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's the aim of a lot of what I do as well. It's just kind of educating people, you know. But I don't know how many people who don't have an interest in autism or don't know somebody who's autistic who actually read any of this stuff, and that's the problem. The problem is getting it to the mainstream or getting it out there, you know, because I think once people actually understand something and kind of know why people are doing stuff, they're a lot more understanding.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's just that people aren't aware.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. I mean, because kids in school now are all mainstreamed together. When I was a child, there was a lot of segregation, so I didn't grow up with that. But now they're mainstream, so they understand from a very young age. The younger generation... That still
needs to improve, though, as well.
It still needs
to improve,
Yeah,
though.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I mean, again, it's like they put kids into a school for inclusion, but then no one talks about autism. So it's kind of like they don't talk to the other kids about it either, and that creates this thing straight away. So actually we need to start at that age, and we need to start doing it now and just have open discussion about it. It's kind of like it's a dirty word, no one wants to talk about it. You know, there's a lot of shame and stigma around it, and I suppose the more people like myself and who talk about it, because it took me like 3 or 4 years to kind of come out publicly and talk about it as well. Like I did a lot of it through my other business, KonfidentKidz. I did like I organised events and stuff through that. Yeah. You know, but I didn't do it under my, like, I was introducing autistic speakers kind of at events I organised, but I wasn't saying I was autistic. Okay. And then I suppose until really last year, really only over a year ago, you know.
Yeah, because it takes a while.
Because of people's reactions to it.
Yeah, the attitude is very negative.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, it is. You have people blessing themselves and everything that they're not. Thank God we're all okay. You're like, yeah.
No, what I get when I tell people I'm vision impaired, they go, "Oh, you'll be running the marathon, so next, Claire." And I'm like, "No, I don't do marathons." I think they think straight away I'm going to be a big fundraiser for it. I'm like, no. No. Does it present itself differently in boys and girls?
Yeah, not really. I think, you see, I suppose if you look at autism, there's like, you can look at it through the medical lens, which is going to say all that kind of stuff. If you look at it like a human variation, there are autistic people, and there are males and females, and in any group of people, then males and females, I suppose, we're socialized differently. Like, we're brought up to behave differently. You know, I mean, girls and women go underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed because basically the model was based on male behaviour. So how would they find us?
Alright.
You know, once again, girls went under the radar.
Alright.
Yeah. And that's
so
still
more
a problem.
boys were being identified with autism than girls.
So there's still that. I even saw on Twitter there during the week some Irish doctor saying that, you know, being male is you know, whatever, one of the risks of high risk factor of autism. And I was going, well, that's if you look at it like through the medical model. And also, that's not true. Like any other population, it's 50-50. But of course, we were failed miserably by the people who put the diagnostics together. And so that's it. I mean, it's just, I suppose, same as any other population, it's 50-50. But but I mean, that is a big problem then, because you've women, like adult women who are, you know, anyone who's been diagnosed, not anyone, but a lot of women who've been diagnosed with autism at this stage in their life have already been probably misdiagnosed with, you know, bipolar or OCD, lots of other things.
Okay. Yeah. And medicated for that?
Possibly. Yeah. Like there's lots of stories I've read from people
okay.
You know,
it's an interesting space, isn't
it?
Yeah.
Well, I just think everybody needs more education on it, including professionals, because I suppose if you learned about something, you know, a long time ago in college, it's not, I mean, there's research coming out every week now.
Absolutely. So and around autism, the numbers are booming. Like, I've read articles that are calling the States, they're saying we're an autistic nation, you know, the numbers are just so huge now.
Yeah. I think they're just, you know, I think they're kind of saying 1 in 65 is the accepted figure. It's probably closer to 1 in 30.
Right.
Realistically.
But there's a massive spectrum.
Yeah, but even,
Isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every autistic person is different, and that kind of annoys me saying that, because every human being is different. I don't think we need to point out that autistic people are also different. Yeah. But that had a purpose as well, I suppose, because everyone had this one idea of what autism was like. It's just, sorry, what was it? What I'm trying to think.
Kind of the spectrum of
so I suppose, and the way people would have thought of autism before would have been like from mild to severe.
Right.
Okay, and it's like a straight line, whereas it's not really like that at all. And actually, there's no mildly autistic and severely autistic. You're either autistic or you're not. Really, that's how, you know, it's kind of like you're either pregnant or you're not. There's no like a little bit. But you have people who are autistic but also have learning disabilities, maybe this horrible word, comorbid conditions, but coexisting conditions.
Yes.
And that's all been muddled up with autism. So, you know, a lot of people who are non-verbal, the reason they're non-verbal isn't because of autism, it's because they have like motor apraxia. So the muscles around their mouth don't work as well, you know, or work. So that's one of the main reasons for people not being able to speak. But if people think of severe autism, they think of someone who can't speak, can't do all these things, but that's because of other conditions as well. Okay. You know, so I think we need to pull apart what actually all these things are, and then see actually how we can serve everybody best, you know.
No, that's brilliant. And what about Asperger's? That was in the dictionary before. Is it still, is it gone?
Gone.
Okay. Right, so we're keeping up to date now. We don't use Asperger's.
Well, you see, this is the thing. It was actually just taken out of the DSM a few years back, and but people are... so they took out Asperger's because the only difference would have been basically the only difference in the DSM was if you were diagnosed with Asperger's if you didn't have a speech delay, and you were diagnosed with autism if you had a speech delay. They were the only differences. But then there's this kind of idea that Asperger's are the kind of higher functioning or the better autistics. So I don't think it serves anybody to kind of grade people high or low functioning. I think it's really... Well, it's degrading. Like, that's my kind of grading is degrading. You're kind of saying that high functioning people are nearly normal, and low functioning people then are aren't.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I think that's really...
We're all human.
We're all human. I think it is really...
We're just a very diverse group of people.
Yeah, and I don't think it matters really, whether somebody needs a lot of support. We all need support, you know what I mean? We've all been babies. We don't know what's ahead of us. We all need support at different points of our lives. And just because someone maybe needs more support at certain points or for longer, I don't think that we should look at them or treat them any differently or with less respect. Anyway,
that's really key to say that, because that's the point that I'm always trying to get out to, especially young people with disabilities. Really take ownership of the disability, and if you need support, get it. Absolutely, especially with technology. There's so many opportunities out there and possibilities and progression pathways, and stay in education. All right, I'm a teacher for 26 years. Stay in education. There's a third of students dropping out of education because of their disability.
Yeah,
and
but it's not because of their disability. It's because they're not given the support they need. You see, and this is the problem. Yeah, and I mean, there should be equal opportunities for everybody. I know.
Go on. Tell me about. No, we better move on to what's going on in the conference next year.
Yeah,
you're already planning next year's conference.
I took a bit of a break, about a month off. So I suppose the conference we had in February was such a success. Like it was huge. It was brilliant. You were there that day. I think. I think I'm afraid I won't be able to recreate the atmosphere that was there, because that was really a huge part of the day. I think, the amount of people that said, like parents, autistic adults, professionals that came, they were just like how inclusive it was, how they felt part of the community, and you could feel that sense of community, I think, on the day. And I think I got a mom actually wrote me a letter, which was really nice. I didn't think people wrote letters anymore. Wrote a letter a few weeks after the conference, and she said that she had gone there, I suppose, kind of thinking that her son had got a life sentence, but she came away thinking that he had a beautiful community and a really a different life that she had ahead of him, as part of this wonderful community. And that's pretty huge, you know what I mean? If the day had that much impact on one person. And we got lots of people who came. There was another mom who came because her young little 2-year-old had been diagnosed, and then as one of our speakers, Brian Irwin, was talking.
Another Cork man.
Brian's brilliant. So as Brian was talking, she was like, oh my God, he was describing her teenage son. And then that changed his life and her, you know what I mean? Just, so it was just, and just a lot of autistic people, I think, felt really comfortable there as well. It was just really, it was great. It was. So I suppose, it was, it was a big task. It was exhausting. So I was kind of like, right, I'll think about it before we do it again. But I think there was no way I wasn't going to either.
No, you have to do it again.
Pretended for a while.
Okay. So March
so we're doing it again.
2020?
29th of March. Rochestown Park Hotel again, because they were fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, I just couldn't fault them. They were great. So we're delighted to be heading back there. Because even the lighting and everything was just really perfect on the day. So we're heading back there. So we again have 9 speakers. I think we have 5 coming from the UK this time. It was 4 Irish. So I think the UK is a little bit ahead of Ireland in terms of activism.
Yes. In general.
They just seem to be. We're a bit thin on the ground over here, and so I have lots coming from the UK, like Emma Dalmain. She actually attended the conference, but she didn't speak. She would be a big campaigner for rights and against abuse and stuff like that in the UK. So she's coming. There's Kieran Rose, who is the Autistic Advocate, which is his website and Facebook page and stuff. But again, 12-15 years experience. Okay.
He's going to talk actually about autistic burnout and autistic identity. So again, masking. Right. Like he ran a huge campaign last year online. It was take the mask off. So it was basically encouraging autistic people to be themselves, to stim in public, just to do what they need to do. So really looking forward to then Agony Aughty or Sarah Jane Harvey. She'll be talking about kind of sensory profiles and stuff like that. Who else? Owen Stevens is an Irish psychotherapist. So Owen is kind of going to give us an interesting perspective, because he's going to have his own perspective as finding out he was autistic as an adult, and also his professional work and that, and how they go together.
Brilliant.
Melissa Murphy, who's a blogger, Autistic Zebra, is she's going to talk about authoring autism. So she's going to talk about, like, I suppose, different autistic authors and what she's learned from them. So it'll be like, that'll be really interesting to kind of, I suppose, a lot of information summarized. I'm trying to think as well now who else is coming. Ellie Tate is another UK.
actually going to talk about aphantasia, which is something I didn't know about till a few weeks ago. It's like someone shared it. So basically, you can't, like, because I was talking about how I picture stuff, and a lot of autistic people picture stuff. But she's autistic, but she also, so she can't picture stuff in her head. So yeah, so she, like we shared, if there was a few kind of articles and stuff shared on the page at the time, and then she commented and she was like, oh, I have this, and I was like, oh, will you come over and talk about it, because I just think it's fascinating. So like the impact that has on kids who are learning in school, you know, or like if you ask a kid a question, can you think of, you know, like, because I was going, well, what if you're drawing something, and she was saying, well, I can't draw something unless it's right in front of me.
All right, it has to be very concrete. All right,
Well,
and
she
so
can't
much
see
of
it.
it we're visualizing, you know. Even when you're meditating, sometimes you're visualizing.
Yeah.
And
So
she can't visualize.
No.
She can't see pictures in her head.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So then there's other people going, there's a name for it. And it was like this whole kind of thing kicked off. And it was, so I just, again, it's something that probably is little known about, because I hadn't come across it before. And so, you know, like that, you know, kids in school, you're asking them to think of something or to imagine something. Yeah. And if they can't, you know, and what if they actually really can't? And so I just think, just to hear her, but even just her, how she thinks, how, and other people with aphantasia, like how their minds work and how they think, I just think it's fascinating. Like it's a whole new thing.
I haven't heard of that either, so that's really, really, that'll be good.
Yeah,
good.
Isn't
Brilliant.
it?
So we have something to look forward there.
Yeah.
Okay, before we finish up today, I wonder, do you have any tips for businesses? For people who are working with colleagues with autism, or for customers, right? Any tips that we can give to businesses to be autism confident?
Yes,
okay.
That's not a good word.
Yeah,
autism confident.
Yeah.
Because I think autism aware isn't good enough anymore either.
Oh,
people know there's a thing called autism. They don't know much. Autism confident. I might steal that one out there.
You can work away. It's all yours. All yours.
No, I like it. Yeah, well, I think, okay, so most people are aware of the sensory environment, you know, I suppose can be a bit more suitable for us, like bright lights. You know, I think most people are kind of familiar with autism friendly shopping now, where they lower the lights and kind of the music and stuff is down low. So obviously paying attention to the sensory environment, that also means kind of things like open plan offices are a nightmare for people, you know, or you know, that people can wear noise cancelling earphones. I've just ordered a pair, so I don't know anything, because I was there going, I've just ordered a pair because I'm just going to try them out. Because like even going to concerts and stuff like that, I can't tolerate the noise, you know. So I'm kind of like, I'm going.
Well, I've heard that one of the best ways of retaining someone with autism in the workplace is noise cancelling headphones. It's very cheap. It's there, but I know even I use them sometimes because if a colleague is eating an apple and it's driving me over the edge, because I'm very easily driven over the edge, right? But that they help me. So
well, that's it. It's just, I suppose, it's hard to concentrate. Like I can't be on the phone with someone else on the phone in the same room, that kind of stuff. Or the TV on the phone. No. So noise cancelling headphones, that kind of thing. I suppose setting up, you know, the way someone's working. But I mean, if for businesses taking on people, it's even how they advertise the job. You know, it's even like straightforward, the way it's worded, that's quite, you know, to avoid ambiguous language. Same when you're communicating with people, you know, to avoid sarcasm, you know, kind of indirect ways of asking for something, you know, like if I asked you, would you hand me that cushion?
Right.
I didn't ask you directly to hand. I didn't say, can you or please hand me
the cushion.
I asked you, you know, can you or would you? And you could say, yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I'm going to do
it. Okay,
so very clear, direct
because
language.
Then look at miscommunication that could happen there. Then you go, I can, and not give it to me. And I'd be like, oh my God, Claire's so rude. But Claire's not rude at all. Claire just answered my question directly, because that's how she communicates and that's how she uses language. You know, so please, I think, and that's what's happening all the time.
The nuances of language, so just to be aware of it.
Okay. You know, I think the way I would describe it is that autistic people are more careful with language. Maybe non-autistic people are a bit careless with language. Not that either is right or wrong, but just that we use words kind of, I suppose, quite literally a lot of the time, you know. So kind of how we communicate, and even like in a premises, then how things are signposted, like the things are quite clearly, which I suppose helps a lot of people, not just autistic people. That, you know, that if there's any instructions, they're clear instructions. That it's clear that people know what to do.
No, that's brilliant. Those are really good tips. Thank you so much for coming in today. It's been really Really good.
Yeah, it was fun being here. Thanks a million.
Yeah, we'll have to get you back again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think we have more to talk about. Okay. Thanks
a
Evaleen.
million, Claire.
Cheers. Okay. Please be advised that this recording does not constitute medical or legal advice.